Hi everybody, welcome to the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, please remember to subscribe to the channel, thumb up the video and comment about anything you see in the video or about the game in question. And if you can, please check out the Patreon campaign if you want to help this channel a little bit further. Now when it comes to pre-Kickstarter videos, I'm not as keen to do these much anymore. And that's probably going to be the way I am going forwards. I kind of want to stick to like new released games really. But there will be the occasional like major exception to the rule now and again, but I'm going to be very picky with these, shall we say. But one person that I do like to get behind on these things is Alley Cat Games. Alley Cat Games do some cool Kickstarters that feel more like actual Kickstarters. You know, like, here's a game, we want to do it, we're going to improve it as the Kickstarter goes along, and soon it will make this nice little cool package that looks really cool and has deluxeified components. It's not like just a pre-order system with them. But Alley Cat Games have done a lot of these on Kickstarter, and this is their newest fare, releasing, I believe, on April the 19th is their planned Kickstarter release date, and that is Autobahn, designed by I'm going to butcher these names, by Fabio Lopiano and Nestor Mangon.
Say whip. Whip. Now say cool whip. Cool whip. Cool whip. Cool whip.
Fabio's main game that you would have probably heard of is Merv, Heart of the Silk Road, and Nestor has also done Newton alongside Simone Luciani, so two fairly popular Euro games that these designers have worked with. Autobahn basically is all about, and I stress now, this is a prototype copy, which is why I'm pretty much just showing you the boards and what's on Tabletop Simulator from the mod I've used, because honestly, you're not really going to get much from looking at prototype pieces. But essentially, you are dealing with the German Autobahn system. So here's the map of the whole thing. It's got road networks, it's got places to put petrol pumps, you can put your lorries and travel from place to place, and it's also got like a money board for how much money everything costs in a particular round. Now, what happens is that you go through three separate eras, so starting with 1946, going to 65, then 66 to 90, and then 91 to 2020. The main difference between these eras is how the prices fluctuate, but also you'll notice that East Germany on this side is entirely locked off the game until you get to the third era, because obviously the Berlin Wall needed to come down in order for East Germany to actually be a thing. So, you know, with that, you are essentially trying to play a relatively meaty economic game where you are trying to build up your personal board of different upgrades and get lorries and employees and stuff, and what you're doing is you're building up parts of the map to get victory points and earn money. I mean, what else would you want to do in an economic game?
Of course!
In order to do this, you will be looking to build roads on the various networks and upgrade them so that lorries can move faster on there. You'll want to build petrol stations so that when lorries go past, you can get some extra little bonus and income. You'll want to go to the different outside cities in order to deliver goods based on your own personal delivery board, because that will get you either more money or more bonuses, and like I say, bonuses is always good. But you'll also want to get your I say employees, they're more investors really, but you'll want to fulfill these tasks so that you can get your employees to area control effectively these different colored tables based on the board itself. While your employees are here, it can generate more income for you when you get to the end of an era. There's a development board down here where as you perform certain tasks, you'll be able to level up this track and it will get you more bonuses as you go through. But the real crux of where you're aiming is this top bit here. This is the only way you get points in the game. You can get income from other means, but this is how you win. Getting your investors up here and leveling them up this board. Now you don't have to get them on every single segment, it depends what you're aiming for. For example, the middle one here is going to give you more points based on like the upgrades that you've unlocked. It's like, alright, that's pretty cool, as well as like helping you out with deliveries. The third one here is going to give you points based on how many petrol pumps you've got out. The fourth one is all based on how much money you've got. So it's up to you what victory points you want, but you are really aiming to get on this board, like, and then some. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about like the rules of the game, because otherwise this would just be a rules tutorial video. The mod for this, Tabletop Simulator, should be coming public from the date of the Kickstarter as well, so you'll be able to play it on there. But mainly I'm just going to highlight some parts that I think are pretty decent and a couple of bits that I think are, you know, not as good, and just give you my honest thoughts from a preview perspective. Now, obviously, because this is prototype, I'm not going to talk about component quality, because that's not fair. This is, from what I can tell, finalized artwork, although again, this artwork is subject to change, but honestly, I quite like it. The boards aren't that busy and everything's just nice and colourful. I particularly like this map of the German Autobahn. I mean, from a distance, just looking on the camera screen, that's a nice colourful picture, isn't it? The different tracks that you've got, you know, red, green, black and purple, they are specifically designed with colour blindness in mind. Firstly, they're colourblind friendly colours. There are markings on each track to differentiate them. And also, and I didn't realise this actually, apparently Fabio is colourblind. So, you know, the designer knows what it's like to look at a board and have problems with colour blindness. So don't worry, this will be pretty colourblind friendly. It's also, for the most part, from what I can tell, going to be language independent. I mean, yes, you've got the names of the different cities like Hamburg and Würzburg and Paris and all that lot, but other than that, there is no other kind of English text on any of the cards. It's all iconography, it's all symbols, so you should be able to play this with any language as well. So again, very accessible, which is always going to be a good thing. But the crux of this game, and it's kind of like the meat of what you're doing on your turn, is the use of these little cards here. Now, again, not final components, but they're coloured based on the different routes. And what you have on your board is some actions that you get on the top, which allow you to do things like build the boats. We're on the German Autobahn here. Build the motorways, upgrade them, you know, do deliveries with movement with your lorry, build petrol pumps, that kind of thing. But you have a hand of cards, one for each of the colours on this board. And so what you do is that you play a card above one of the actions that you have. So I wonder if I can show this in the screen a little bit. So, you know, I've got this one here. I could play my orange one to the petrol pump action, which means that on the orange track somewhere on the board, I'm going to be building the petrol pump. And then next turn, I could be playing the yellow to the upgrade one, which means I'm going to upgrade something specific here. You know, the green, I could put on the motorway building, which means I'm going to build a segment on the green track. So it's all basically matching the colours to the action you want. You carry on doing this in turn order, but essentially you're going to need your cards back. So you decide that you either play as many of your cards as you can, like play out your entire hand, in which case you get to take them back for free, which is quite cool. But if you're willing to take them back a bit earlier, it will take your entire turn to do so, but you'll get some money for the cards that you're collecting back. So it's up to you whether you're going to try and be efficient with this, or you really just badly need a bit of extra cash. And yeah, money can be quite tight in this game, it certainly is. But the cool thing with this is that this alone would be pretty sweet. You know, okay, cool. I like having a hand of cards, and I've got to be very like, oh, well, I need the yellow for this action, but then if I can't do that, then what am I going to do with the red or the green? But even better is you can upgrade in this. You can upgrade these cards as you go forward, and the main way you're kind of doing it is, you know, with use of the development board, but basically anywhere where you see this kind of like motorway symbol on as a bonus, you get to upgrade these cards. So what are these upgrades? Well, basically they're just more coloured cards, except that they've got bonuses on the bottom of said card. So, for example, I've got a yellow one here, which allows me to do a yellow action on the board, but also, when I play this, I get to build another motorway as part of it. So these aren't complicated effects, but it's just cool because you've got a big deck full of these cards. Some of them aren't even in play until the third era when East Germany opens up. And so you might actually decide to hang on for a bit and get those really powerful third era cards, but then you're going to have basic cards for the first couple of eras. But then if you get them early, then you've got a bit of a leg up, but then maybe you won't be able to get some of those really powerful ones later. But it's cool because now I have a hand of cards that is different from every other player. They don't have these same upgrades. I mean, yeah, they're repeated on some of them, but there's still a decent variety of effects. And just because I have built a free motorway on the yellow, you might have it on the purple. But you don't even have to have one of each colour in your hand. Granted, you might think, well, hang on, maybe I want to diversify, but maybe you just don't care about the orange track. Maybe all your stuff, maybe you're constantly delivering to a couple of routes on the board that just require you to essentially get from one end to the other. So fine, I'll take this and I'll go from here to here a lot of the time. Yeah, well this, so what do I care about green? And, you know, am I really that fussed about, you know, yellow at the end of the day? And so you could decide to just have a hand where you go, you know what, I don't want my green card. Boop. I'll take an upgraded yellow. Now I've got 2 yellow cards. So I can do a lot on the yellow track. And it's just stuff like that is really cool. It's a hand management game, but you are able to upgrade said hand, which is all really good. The game also has a decent amount of player interaction because you are effectively building on this communal board, so everybody is affecting it. If I'm building roads here, you might be building them down here, but somebody else is building petrol pumps around the place, even on places where I've been building roads. I've built the road, maybe somebody else comes along and upgrades them. I don't necessarily own anything on this board except for the petrol pumps really, and the lorries that go around. But the roads could be built up by anybody, and the value of these motorways goes up depending on how much completed stuff is kind of connecting to the various cities. So everybody's got an agenda of like, you know what, so-and-so is helping me to build this motorway. Maybe I should consider using that as a route, in which case I could upgrade that route. That'd be good. I'll just wait for them to build the infrastructure and then I'll jump in and upgrade it later. And so this game is not multiplayer solitaire by any stretch of the imagination. This is definitely like, you know, with other players, especially with regards to this sideboard here and the little investor chairs here, because when you get your guys on these investor chairs, there's only so much space, and so if too many people end up on this, they push the old ones off. So you're basically in an area control match with this aspect, while trying to level them up so you can do well on the scoring aspect. But of course, you might not necessarily be that fussed about these investor chairs. You know, maybe you just want to go on there and quickly upgrade. Maybe I'm more concerned about delivering from city to city. So, okay, fine, I'll start over here. I'll grab my, you know, I forget what they deliver, my car, essentially deliver my car. I'm going to deliver it all the way down here, and you get a bonus for, you know, either getting people on this board or developing those upgrade cards. As I said, you know, there's all sorts of different things you can do. And when East Germany opens, you can even deliver pharmaceuticals to other places, which get you even like bigger bonuses, because now we're in the age of pharmaceuticals. It's just really cool to have like everybody involved with everybody else and not having to go, well, I could play this with 4 players, but then what's the point of having the other 3 players there? Oh no, you put 4 players in this game and this board gets busy. In fact, I actually kind of suggest playing this with more players rather than less, honestly. There will be a solo mode for this game, but I have not played the solo mode, okay? I think it's still being designed, you know, and like I have no idea how it's necessarily going to work, but of course, a solo mode would be great.
This is why Superman works alone.
So with all the different ways that you can play the game, whether it's like deliveries or upgrading or, you know, doing the upgrades on your board or building all the petrol pumps in very like strategic places, this is definitely, I think, one of the meatiest games that Alley Cat has put out. Forget Tinner's Trail. That's not a great deal meaty, but you know, you get what I mean. Forget Chocolate Factory even. Chocolate Factory is fairly meaty, but this, definitely the most meaty. But the rules aren't that complex. Honestly, I was taught this by, you know, one of the Alley Cat crew, Liam, on TTS, and I understood the game pretty much after that one teach. It's not that the rules are complicated, and there's not even a ton of rules overhead. The iconography is fairly straightforward to explain. You've just got to really understand how this map works. But it's more that everything kind of links in together and is interwoven. I mean, if you're upgrading your cards, they're going to have other effects that do stuff on this board. If you're delivering from A to B, the whole idea of like, well, let's see, if my lorry is on a green network and I play a green card, I can actually move my lorry for free. Otherwise, I've got to like move it manually. But then there's petrol pumps there. Am I just giving somebody else a bonus by driving across this route? Well, so-and-so's doing deliveries. Maybe I should build a petrol pump on his route and then like nick their stuff. A lot of stuff is going on, and it's all linked. You've got to pay attention to the other players, and so there's a lot to get in your head. You can create a lot of cool combos with turns, like, oh, if I play this card, I do this action, which then delivers this, which gets me this cool bonus. That's all really fulfilling and satisfying, but there's a lot to think about, which means that the game can suffer a little bit from a slight analysis paralysis problem. No different really from pretty much any heavy game that you play. I mean, come on, I've got Vital Lacerda's and Mindclash games here. This is by no means that kind of level of meatiness, but definitely this is probably upper echelons of midweight. I don't think I would call this heavyweight, but it's definitely at least a midweight game. It's got a lot of involved stuff in it. But it's mainly just from how everything moves together, which is kind of fitting. It is about the Autobahn after all. The game is also definitely probably one of the longer ones that Alley Cat has done. This definitely easily fetches up a good 90 minutes, can even potentially go to 2 hours if you've got the odd slow player or if you're teaching it as well. But the game should be done and dusted within the 2-hour mark, because it's all basically a case of, you know, these roads for each era. How quickly do these get built? that dictates the length of the game. But I would certainly set aside 2 hours for your first game, like playing this with rules teach. It's definitely gonna like not be like a quickie game by any stretch of the word.
40 seconds, but I want to know.
But overall, I've enjoyed my time with Autobahn so far, and I recommend giving this one a look on the Kickstarter project. You know, whatever they do with regards to deluxifying this game, you know, I'm all for, but forgetting components and stuff like that, just talking about gameplay mechanics, it's refreshing to see something quite so meaty from Alley Cat Games, since the likes of Chocolate Factory, but I like the theme with this one. The theme is represented quite well. I like the idea that East Germany opens up later in the game and so gives you more options and a different thing to deliver, but I just kind of like this Autobahn thing just feels more interesting than, say, like trains delivering coal and steam. Here you've got lorries on these road networks, and you don't even have to get that involved in them. I mean, you could do this pick up and deliver aspect, but maybe you're just more interested in upgrading your board and just building petrol pumps everywhere and just capitalizing off everybody else. There's a few different paths to victory. You can be differentiated from other players with the upgrade cards, and it just allows for a good amount of variety as you're played, while also making a good amount of meaty decisions. You know, and people can relate to this more. You know, I can't relate to a steam train delivering coal and iron in the 1855 or whatever. It's like, that's not kind of what floats my boat, really. But most people are aware of what motorway networks are. The idea of picking up and delivering things on lorries is a modern concept, and if you're anyone like me, you may have already been to Germany and actually driven on the Autobahn system, which is a slightly scary experience.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And now, to completely break the continuity at all, the last part of the video on this got corrupted by the camera when the battery ran out, so sadly we're just having to re-record this last bit. But just to summarize, Autobahn is a decent looking Euro game with a different theme for a change. You know, honestly, we don't see this kind of thing. Lots of cool interwoven mechanics and a decent amount of meat. Certainly I think the heaviest game that Alley Cat Games has put out. So I reckon this is definitely worth a look when the Kickstarter comes out. I think this will appeal to anybody who wants something, you know, a little bit easier to get into, but will still give them the meaty decisions that they want to know. So I'm going to look out for this one, and hopefully you lot will too. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. Remember, if you like what you see, please remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment what are your thoughts on Autobahn, what are your thoughts on Alley Cat Games. Let me know, I'd be interested to hear. Until next time, you can check out more videos on the channel, including the recent video I did for the Quacksa-Quedlinburg Mega Box, or you can check out the recent review I did for Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition. Take care, and remember, as always, everyone, it's only a game. Bye for now.